Howdy, everyone. I am Omar Yacoub, and I will be discussing the production forms and issues with biofuels, in particular, focusing on ethanol as it is a major source of biofuels for the United States. In terms of a basic definition, biofuels are any fuel that comes from organic materials, which are also known as biomass, and they provide bioenergy. So there are many materials that can be viable as biomass, such as woods, crops, etc. Almost any organic material you can think of, there's most likely a process that can convert into a biofuel. And the bigger issue is it efficient enough to be considered a net energy positive? So, according to a video from 2021 titled "What is Biofuel" by the Dynamic Earth Learning Institute, uh, biofuels currently handle about 10% of the world's energy needs. So while that is a sizable portion of the energy consumption worldwide, it also leaves room to grow for biofuels if there's ever any hope for biofuels to completely replace fossil fuels. So getting deeper into the types of biofuels, biofuels come in two major categories. Primary, which would be just naturally occurring organic materials, such as woods, crops, as mentioned earlier, anything like that, and it can be used for electricity, cooking. On the other hand, secondary biofuels are from processed organic materials, such as biodiesel and ethanol, which we will be focusing on. So typically, these are used to power motor vehicles and for large scale manufacturing. So currently, ethanol is the most widely used biofuel, especially in the United States. Ethanol is extracted from the alcoholic anaerobic respiration of yeast, which is the process of converting glucose into ethanol when oxygen isn't present to form aerobic cellular respiration. The most common form of ethanol production in the United States is corn based ethanol, and this basically involved planting corn for ethanol production rather than for feeding the general population or as a food stock for livestock. And this corn is converted into somewhat of a powder that can then be used to provide glucose to yeast, which would then use the process of anaerobic respiration to provide themselves energy and produce ethanol, which would then be extracted. So currently, there are several problems with biofuels, and specifically the system of ethanol production that we just discussed. Unfortunately, according to Brian McManus from the Real Engineering channel, this method is so energy intensive that it results in an unsustainable net loss of energy and an overall inefficient process. This means that biofuels can be very wasteful, especially when implemented incorrectly, such as some of the corn production systems that we have currently. Because the farming and transportation of corn and the process to convert it into ethanol and transport the ethanol is so intensive on the amount of water, land, and energy we need that it simply is not sustainable. In addition, using these resources means that the price of corn and associated agricultural products, such as livestock, which rely on corn as a feedstock, uh, would also rise. In addition, it would result in damage to natural environments, and the subsidized nature of the industry means that traditional corn and sugarcane based methods are too dangerous to both the environment and the economy. And while there are better alternatives to traditional corn and sugarcane ethanol production, such as cellulose or algae, which for cellulose would involve using grass or a similar plant, and for algae would involve using algae to produce the biomass necessary to process into biofuel. Generally, these methods require more complexity and steps to actually reach the level of being a sugar that can be provided to yeast, which can oftentimes lead to greater energy costs and their own unique issues. This isn't to say that biofuels are completely useless and that they are only a danger to the environment. They are still an improvement over fossil fuels, and there are new studies being done into various methods that would improve on our current ethanol production process or provide alternatives. So we should not give up entirely on biofuels, but rather be more wary of how biofuel production affects the future. Thank you.